Hello, ladies and gentlemen. My name is Rafe, and welcome back to the channel. So, tell me a joke about a flat tire. No pressure. Today, we're looking at the 1 to 4 player game Starship Interstellar by Pendragon Games. Okay, there is a ton going on in this game. So, I'm basically just going to cover the highlights of the game, give you a general overview of how it plays, and that way you at least have an understanding of what's going on, because there is a ton going on in this game. All right. So what's going to happen is every player is you're going to choose your color and you're going to have a box. And inside this box is basically the components and everything that you're going to have for for your round for the entire basically for the entire game. Think of this box as kind of like a screen. So rather than having everything behind a screen, you have it in a box. Okay. Now, just so you know, I'm going to be looking at this rule book probably the whole time I'm doing this because there is so much on this board. I cannot remember everything on this at all. All right. So on your turn, what you're going to do is you're starting off the game and you're going to have 5 tiles. All right. And these tiles, well, they're in your box. And when it comes up to your turn, you're going to choose which one of these you're going to do. You can either build tech, you can mine the sun, you can get fuel, you can go to the market, or you can even travel to other planets. Okay. And these are the basic actions that you're going to get in this. So I'll kind of cover each one of these and then we'll go to the other phases. All right. So the first one we'll talk about is the tech. When you want to do that, basically what you're going to do is you're going to take your tile and you're just going to put it down in front of you. That's saying this is the action that I'm currently going to take. And then you have your tech board, okay, your player board, and it's going to have a cost for what it is in order to build those techs. And you always have to start from the left and you have to work your way to the right. All right. And usually the cost is going to be the first level, they're going to be like 1 resource. The second level is going to be 2 resources. The third level is going to be 3 resources. All right. Now, there's a couple other parts on that tech board that you don't have to necessarily do them in any particular order. All right, but it tells you if it's the first, second, or third that you get. Okay, you're either paying 1, 2, or 3 resources, and it tells you the colors you have to pay. The next one you're going to do is you're going to be able to you can mine the sun. All right. Now, to mine the sun, there's several things that are happening here. So the sun bag is going to have a whole bunch of cubes in it. All right. And you're going to reach in there and you're going to pull out 2 cubes. Now, you can choose to keep one or both of these cubes. Now, if you keep them, they're resources that you're going to be able to get. So it's a nice way to be able to get resources fast. But you're also going to take a reputation hit by taking those cubes. So you take the cubes and you're going to go down on the reputation track. Now, going down on that reputation track is going to get you negative victory points at the end of the round. So you got to be careful of that. So you want to make sure you don't go down too far. Also, the more times the people mine the sun, and it's a popular strategy, the faster the game is going to end. Because as soon as I think it's the Emperor cube gets all the way to the Earth and the sun, in the middle, well, then the game's over. All right. But there you go, mining the sun. The next thing you can do is you can just get 4 fuel. All right. Now, fuel is the basic currency in this game. So you basically put that token on top, showing that's your active token, and then you get 4 fuel cubes, and you put them in your box. The next thing you can do is you can go to the market. Now, if you want to go to the market and you want to buy something, basically the cost to buy the cubes is there's a predetermined order of what they are, and the cost is going to be 1, 2, 3, 4, or 5, depending on the color it is. But you're also going to pay an additional 2 fuel for each cube that you buy. So if you want to buy a red cube, it's going to cost you 3 fuel. If you want to buy 2 of them, it's going to cost you 6 fuel. All right, and so on and so on. Just depends on what cubes you want to buy and what you want to pay. All right. Now, the last action that you can do is you can travel. Now, traveling is a lot of this game is, and this part happens during the travel phase. All right. So when you travel, what you're going to do is you're going to put on your little travel board all the fuel that you want to travel with. Okay, and you want to make sure you have enough fuel on there to be able to get to your planets and get to your destination, but you also need to make sure you have enough fuel to get back. And you may also need additional fuel for when you get to the planets, trying to figure out what resources are there. So it's always good to load up on extra. The other thing you want to do is you want to put any buildings on your spaceship, and you got room for all your buildings. So you start off the game with 4 mines. So theoretically, throw all 4 mines on there because it's not going to hurt anything. So that way, if you go to multiple planets, you already have the mines to do it. Okay. Now, so what's going to happen is once you travel, all right, now to travel, it's going to cost, and this is just basic travel without any tech upgrades, it's going to cost you 1 fuel to break Earth's orbit. Then it's going to cost you 1 fuel to go to the next outer or inner ring. So if you notice on the board, you're going to see all the different rings. All right. So once you get out of the Earth's orbit and you go to the next ring out, that's 1 fuel. If you want to go through the asteroid belt, that's 1 fuel. Okay. Now, every one of the planets that are out there on the board, they're all going to have a number on them. And that number is how much fuel under a normal situation it would cost you to go to that planet if you were within the same zone. Okay. Now you're going to notice there's 4 zones and they're separated by those red lines. If you cross one of those red lines, that also costs you an additional fuel. All right. So if one planet's going to cost you, say, 4 if it's in the same zone, but then eventually now it goes to another zone, it's going to cost you an additional 1 to go to the planet because of that. So when I'm traveling, basically what I always do is I just kind of look and see what the number is in that planet. I count the number of red lines I got to cross over, and I add 1 fuel. All right. Now to get home, you just reverse the situation, but you have to make sure that you have, enough fuel to get back. And sometimes you'll be in the same zone, sometimes you won't. Sometimes you'll be in 2 zones. You have to go through 2 zones. It all depends on how the rotation of the planets goes. Okay. But that's the basic actions you're going to do. Now, the travel action, once you get to your planet, there's a lot more steps that are involved in the travel action. So what you're going to do, say you go to a planet, you're going to see there's going to be a stack of tiles that are on that planet. All right. And if it's the first time you've been there and you don't have a mine on that planet, what you're going to do is you're going to flip over one of those tiles. That's going to tell you how many resources are going to show up on that particular planet. It's also going to show you how many resources that you're going to actually be able to put on your ship as well. Okay. Now, I always got to go look because I can't remember what everything's called. So if you have additional fuel, one of the things you can do is once you turn over that tile, if it's not the resources you want, you can spend 2 fuel and you can flip over another tile. Now, if you look up on the top of each one of the planets, you're like Mercury, for example, you're going to see like 2 yellow, 3 green, 2 blue, and 3 purple. That's basically the odds of what the odds are of trying to get cubes of those colors popping up on those tiles. Okay, so if you draw a tile that's yellows, you may think, yeah, you know what, I can do better than this. I may spend the 2 fuel to get something better. All right, totally your choice. However, once you accept that, you're going to look and you're going to see, and it's going to tell you how many cubes you're going to put in your depot. You can put your mine down there. You have to put your mine down there, but it's also going to tell you how many cubes you can actually put on your ship, if any at all. Okay, and then you're good to go at that point in time. Now, later on in the game, or even early in the game, if you happen to have any of the other buildings are going to be able to do different things for you as well. Okay, I know there's like the drill is going to help you be able to put resources into your storage area, and then there's another one that's going to allow you to be able to take cubes from the storage area and just ship them back to your supply, so you don't have to necessarily put them on your ship and go home. Okay, but there is a lot to do with the buildings and a lot to do with the ships, and I'm just going to leave it right there for right now. Okay. But those are basically the 3 actions that you're going to take in this stage of the game. All right. Now, once everybody has completed those 3 actions, okay, let me rephrase this one more. Once it comes around to you and you decide to pass because you don't want to take any more actions, then what you can do is you're going to take the pass token, you can put it on top of your stack saying that you've passed. You can no longer take any more actions during this phase. If you have any tiles that you haven't yet used yet, and those could include other like planetary tiles that you've gotten, okay, then you're going to be able to rotate it that many spaces, okay, and you'll rotate it counterclockwise, so it's going to advance up. Now this is going to go to the next player. Once it comes back around to you, if everybody hasn't passed yet, you can still pass. You're going to continue to pass. You'll rotate it one more time. So every time people keep taking actions, you're going to keep rotating that pass dial up. So then once everybody's passed, then what you're going to do is you're going to be able to get the resource that's showing on that pass straight up, or any one of the ones below it, your choice. Okay, so it's kind of like your reward for passing early, and not taking as many actions. So sometimes it's good to pass early. Sometimes you pass early and you're stuck with only like one major or one little minor cube. You never really know. However, the first person that passes, they're going to be first player on the track for next time. All right, so you would move your cube over to the first player and mark, and the second person, third person on down the line. Okay, so once everybody's passed and everybody's finished, now you're going to go to the salvation phase of the game. So what you're going to do is you're going to take all those tiles you just got done playing, okay, and you're going to flip every one of them upside down. Any of them that show a planet, you're going to put those off to the side. You're not going to be able to use them this turn. And now you're going to basically repeat the same process, but you're going to be using these particular tiles instead. Okay. Now these tiles, they're all going to have an image on them, and that image is going to represent the different things that you can actually do. All right. So for example, you can build a mechanism for the Interstellar. So to build a mechanism for Interstellar, what you're going to do is you're going to go look over on the rows. Now you're going to see there's two different rows there. You have your current row, and then you have your future row. Okay. And those are the two rows that start. And you'll see in the future row, there's a couple arrows that are going to move that one down once the current one gets built. There's also a row down below. That's the long-term area. That will slowly get filled up, but we'll cover that here in a little bit on when that happens. So to build a mechanism, basically all you're going to do is the tile is going to say what color cubes it wants, and you're going to spin those cubes, and you're going to take that tile and you're going to be able to put it on the starship. Okay. Once you put it on the starship, then you're going to go over and you're going to be able to move your token on the track for building the starship, and you'll be able to get take the bonus and get the bonus for whatever that is. All right. The other thing you can do is you can send a representative to the world government. Now, when you do that, you're going to be able to put one of your guys, and you're going to start on the bottom row. Okay. So if you don't have anybody on there, you have to start on the bottom row, but you can move your guy as far to the right as you want, and you're going to get all of the resources or all of the abilities that are ahead of that guy from left to right. All right. However, when the government phase comes back around, then what the government phase is going to do is it's going to look for the people that are on the highest row on the furthest left. And being governor, trust me, is a good thing because you get a lot of resources and a lot of extra points at the end of the round. Okay. But you just don't get as many resources by putting your worker to the government. And you only have a finite number of your little builder guys. So if you send them to the government, that means you can't put them on your tech and do that and other things as well. The other thing you can do is you can save a population. So over on the big dial for Earth, you're going to see there's a bunch of population cubes. If you have one of those cubes that matches one of those people, then what you're going to do is you're going to take that cube and you're going to put it back in the supply, or I think it goes in the market. But then you're going to take one of those people and you're going to put them in the cryo state. And when you put them in the cryo state, of course, then you're going to go up on the reputation, I believe the reputation track for doing that. And the last thing you can do is you can advance your probe. So when you advance your probe, what's going to happen is your probe is going to start on the left-hand side, and you can move it one space, all right? And you have to pay fuel according to the column that it's in up above, all right? And if the space you go into is blank, then what you get to do is you get to pull a tile. If it's one that has a pre-printed icon, then they have the tiles for those as well. And those are usually the two tiles that are on the far right of that track, so you're basically getting a lot more victory points for those ones. All right. And you're just going to get the reward for whatever those are. And if it's a wormhole, you can say spend more fuel and go again. All right. But by going further across that is going to get you more victory points towards the end of the game. So sending that probe out on there is actually a good thing to do. Okay. Now, once the salvation phase is done, all right, then what we're going to do is you're going to go to the, what do they call it? It's like the world government phase. Okay. Now in the world government phase, that's where basically you're going through and you're basically doing cleanup. And so what you're going to do is the mechanism for the current projects with, so you're basically looking at all of the current projects, and whichever current project has the lowest number, you're going to basically put that on the ship, and who happens to be the governor, okay, because they're going to be the one that's on the governor track on the furthest left with the highest row, okay. They're actually, because they're the current governor, they're actually going to get the points and bonuses for completing that mechanism. Then you're going to rescue one population into the cryo state. Okay. And it's going to be whatever the lowest population is. All right. And you're going to get your reputation rewards for that. Then the government probe is going to explore. Now that's that little cleared cube. All right. Now that government probe, when it moves forward, it's basically like your own probe. You're going to turn over tile, but you're going to get the bonuses for that. Then the solar spiral is going to advance. So you're going to move that one space. If it lands on one of the exclamation marks, then what's going to happen is you're going to flip over one of the tiles, and then you're going to do whatever the solar piece on that is. And it's going to be based on whether it's what color on the ring that it's in. Okay. So you always have to advance that. Then you're going to get into long-term projects. So what you're going to do is you're going to take the current projects, you're going to find whatever one costs the most, and you can move it down to the long-term, and then you're going to readjust that column and fill it in. You're going to clear the market. You're going to take whatever resource in the market, find the most common one, and you're going to basically remove those. So the market's going to deplete because you can only have so many cubes in the market based on player count. Now you're going to refill the population. You're going to add one random population to the earth tile. So you reach in the bag, grab one, drop it down on there. You're going to get reputation awards. So everybody's going to gain or lose prestige based on where you're at on the reputation track. That's where if you want to mine the sun, it's good, you get resources, but you're going to go down on that reputation track, and now you're going to get negatives on prestige. And then all the planets are going to rotate. So you notice that all the planets are going to have a little round disk on them. They're all going to move along their axis one space clockwise. So you notice some of them will actually now cross over red lines. Now some are going to be in the same zones and everything else. Okay. And that's in a nutshell is basically it. Like I said, there's a lot going on in this game, a whole lot more going on in this game. And I'll get into it a little bit more when I go over my final thoughts. So let's do that now. All right, folks, there you go. That is, like I said, that's a basic, really super high level version of the rules. I left out, I know, a ton of stuff because there is a lot going on in this game. However, it's not as complex as this may seem. It may sound like it's super complex, but honestly, once you get through the first couple rounds of this game, the rounds can actually go relatively fast, unless you have a lot of AP, okay? Then it might really slow you down, but it's really not that bad. Now, the rule book isn't the best. I will give you that. It's not really the best. I was able to find everything I wanted in this rule book, and I was able to figure everything out. It wasn't as much of a problem. Other people have bigger problems with it. The biggest thing for me that I discovered in this rule book, okay, is these first few pages when it talks about game material, okay, just before the setup. One of the things is a lot of the information I needed that I couldn't originally find in the rules, that's where it was. Okay, so I had to bounce between the sections of the rule book that talked about my actions and the beginning section that kind of covered that. Once I kind of put those two together, then I'm like, oh, now I understand. And the rule book to me actually became a lot simpler. It made a lot more sense, and I was actually able to understand it a whole lot better. Okay. But that being said, I actually really enjoyed this game. I thought it was fun. Is it one of the best spaceship games out there? No, not really. But it was fun. It was really enjoyable. And the thing I think I liked the most about this game was it was super unique. Okay. I absolutely really loved the three phases of this game. Okay. I know when you first start the game, you get it all set up and everything else. And like I said, and this is a big daunting map. Okay. And you get to the action phase, it really takes a while before you can kind of really understand what you have to do. And it really takes a bit before you really understand what the texts do. You kind of have to just play them, learn them. But then once you understand them, then it starts making a little more sense and you understand what you got to do. Okay. Now, are some of the texts more powerful than others? Yes. Should every tech be perfectly balanced? Maybe. But there's reasons why in some situations you would still buy one tech over another, even though some are more powerful. There's a couple that you're always going to want to do. You're probably always going to want to drill. And there's another one. I think it's the one in the upper left-hand corner. You're probably always going to want to do that one. But to be honest with you, when we were playing the game, I played with my buddy Chris, and he went down that tech avenue really, really fast. Whereas me, I started going down the avenue of, well, no, I don't want to pay fuel to leave Earth's orbit. I don't want to pay fuel if I have to fly through the asteroid belt. I want my flying to be super cheap. I want to be able to go out there and I want to planet hop and do a bunch of that stuff and then go back to Earth with all my resources. And then I have a whole lot of stuff. Okay. Now, one of the things about this game that and I've heard people talk about, it's, well, why don't you just mine the sun? Just mine the sun, mine the sun, mine the sun, game over. You can do that. Okay. When you mine the sun, it's going to really accelerate this game. And you're probably going to mine the sun. All right. Because you can get resources really fast and you can actually get some better resources that way too. But the problem is, you're also taking a huge reputation hit and your reputation is going to be going down, down, down. So if you're constantly mining the sun and getting that negative on the reputation track, somebody else is probably getting positive reputation, but they're also going to get more prestige for that as well. So it's kind of this give and take, and how fast you want the game to end. So I can see both points. Honestly, I really can. I can see how some people think that mining the sun is a broken mechanic. I can also see where, honestly, it's a mechanic that's built into the game that, for me, I use it more to get the resources if I need additional resources because I may be a little bit low. Now, one of the cool things about this game is whenever you need resources, you need specific resources, you can always spend a resource of a higher value to substitute for a lower value, which is actually really nice. It ends up costing you a little bit more, but if you find those higher value ones, then you can use them for what you need. I do like that aspect of the game. Okay. I really also like the tiles for your turns. Okay. You start off with the 5 basic ones and you put the one down. And now some of the tiles are going to have little infinity symbols on them. So, like the movement one. Okay. If you got a whole bunch of fuel and you're on your spaceship and you're starting to move from, you go out to a planet, all right, as long as you don't mine that planet and then gain that tile. So one of the things I didn't talk about was if you go to a planet and then you mine it, you put your mine down and then you flip over the tile, okay, and you get all the resources, well, then you're going to take that tile and you're going to set it on top of your movement stack. You can't move anymore. But if you already have a mine there, all right, then you can show up, pick up some resources, and then on your next turn, when it comes back around to you, your last action was traveling. Well, just travel again. Now travel to the next planet, and if you have a mine already there, pick up some more resources, and then just travel back to Earth, and you have resources you need. Okay. Now remember, any resources that you get while you're on those other planets, Mercury, Venus, Jupiter, or whatever, are going to go on your spaceship. So you can't actually put them back in your supply to be able to use them until you get your ship back to Earth. Now, there is one of the techs, which I can never remember the name of these technologies. Oh my gosh, the ARS. So the ARS level 1, if I remember, so what that's going to do is that's going to allow you to, when you go to the planets, then you can actually take those resources and just put them back into your supply. So having level 1 ARS is actually really good because, and even bump it up, because if you can put ARSs in all your planets, great. Now, one of the things I think is really cool too is the further toward or the closer towards the sun you go. So if you want to go in towards the sun, all right, you're going to get some really good resources. That's where a lot of the blues and purples and everything are at the beginning of the game. You can get some good stuff. But the problem is when you're mining that sun, when that cube comes around, it's going to hit a Mercury and it's going to hit a Venus stage. And if it hits those planets are just wiped out and annihilated. If you got mines and buildings on those planets, they're destroyed as well. So if you can get to those planets early enough, manage to mine them for some of their resources, okay, and then what you want to do is you can actually take all the buildings and you can deconstruct them, put them back on your ship, and then fly off to someplace else. You're safe. Then you're not going to lose those. But if those mines blow up because the planet blows up, you're going to be one less mine throughout the game, okay, which can be a good thing, can be a bad thing. It really all depends. You get 4, and it's kind of hard to, well, it's if in a longer game you can get 4 of them put down, depends upon how much traveling you do. Okay, but the technologies are really cool. The extra action tiles that you can manage to pick up, and you only have options really to pick up like 4 of them, I think, throughout the game that you can put on your stack. It's nice having those extra action tiles. They're going to give you some added benefits and bonuses, so they're really cool. You know, one's going to give you 8 fuel. They're going to give you just extra big cubes. There's some really cool tiles there, and also on that. Once you get to the other phases of the game, you flip them over on the backside, and it's going to give you more actions you can do in that last was it production phase of the game. So really cool stuff. Absolutely really love it. Now, excuse me. One of the things this game does come with, and I think this is actually really cool too, is in the rules reference, and this is where the rule books are kind of weird. The rules reference booklet lists a whole bunch of variants. And in those variants, it lists a whole bunch of different tokens. And those tokens, a lot of people just kind of mix in the base supply, but they only go in the base supply if you're playing that particular variant. And there's some actually really cool stuff. So you have the black holes variant, there's a family variant, which is going to give you some bonus tokens. You have lost mining planets, just multi-resources for different deposits, but there's several little variants that you can actually add to your game to play, which is I really like. It's really neat. There's new leader tracks. There's several boards for the new leader track. Okay, and there's also universal mechanisms that you can put down as well. So there's a lot of really cool extra variants that come in this base game. But I'll tell you what, the gameplay in the base game of this, I think is really good, and I think it's really fun. So me and my buddy Chris, we both end up picking this game up, and we're like, this game looks really good. And so we got together, we sat down, and I'll tell you, it took us a few hours to really learn how to play this game. But once we did, we could do a turn in like 30 minutes. Our turns weren't that long once we understood how the game played. And once we really understood how the game played, it was just a whole lot of fun. We actually really enjoyed this game. Okay. It does have, what do they call it? I think they call it HAL, HALL, the human-like artificial learning life form. Okay. The solo mode. I haven't had a chance to play that yet, but I'm really curious how to play that. Okay. But yeah, no, honestly, I think this game is really good. I really enjoyed it. It's fun. I really like a lot of the mechanisms. I like the different phases of the game. I love the government section of this game. I like how you're competing to be the governor. And the thing is you may be high up on that track to become governor. And then what happens is as soon as one of the pieces of the spaceship gets built, it gets flipped over. Whoever's the current governor, they go to that spaceship, and then whoever's next in line becomes the governor. So you may be thinking, hey, all right, I'm governor. I'm gonna get all the points at the end of this round, and then all of a sudden they build the section of the spaceship, and your governor piece goes away. You're no longer governor. So you have to really pay attention to how all that works. I think it's interesting. I think it's fascinating, and I think this is a really fun game. So, is this a game that I would recommend? Yes and no. Okay, if you like really heavy space games, and you like something that's really deep and really thinky, I think you might like this game. Okay, is this game broken like some people say it is? Maybe, but is it fun? And see, to me, did I have fun playing this game? Yes, I had fun playing this game. I enjoyed playing this game. I loved how everything worked. I loved the tile flip. I loved how you had to figure out what action you wanted to take. And if it had an infinity symbol, you could keep taking that same action over and over and over again until another tile went on top of it and replaced it, and it's no longer your active tile. I love that mechanism. I love how you can pass early, and then you're rotating your pass token around, so you're able to get those bonus additional resources, and that happens in both phases of the game. I love that aspect. Okay, but if you're the kind of person that you don't like a real heavy, thinky, big, drawn-out space opera-ish war game, well, it's not really a war game, but it's a big space game that's got a lot of government in it and does have a lot of political aspects to it, you're probably not going to like this game. Okay, but I'll tell you what, I think this game looks gorgeous on the table. I think this game was super fun to play. I'm not a fan of the box. All right, I'd rather have a screen that I can put everything behind. That box was just a little too fiddly, so I just basically open up the box and put all my stuff in front of it. But I mean, I can see why they're using the box. I just don't like it. If you have two people on one side of the table, the box makes more sense, but nah, I'd rather have a screen. But it works. But I'll tell you what, there's a lot of game here. It was a lot of fun. I want to play it again. And yeah, and there you go. I recommend it if you like these long space games. If you don't like these long space games, you might want to stay clear of this one. Well, thank you once again for joining me today. As always, I please ask you to like this video on YouTube, Board Game Geek, Facebook, X, wherever you happen to maybe watching it. Also, please leave me a comment. Let me know what you think about this game if you've played it or if you're interested in it. I know it's not everybody's game, but you know what? As long as you have fun playing it, that's all that really matters. And also, if you haven't, please subscribe to the channel. I greatly appreciate it. It does help me out, and you become part of my little family. So, what do parents feed an infant if they want him to grow up to be a race car driver? Formula One.